Listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to CAD-1's presentation of data references in Civil 3D 2014. We're going to have an awfully full house this morning, so if you have a little room beside you, scoot over and make room for somebody else. My name is Stan Henne. I'm the Business Development Director here at CAD-1, our manager. Getting ahead of myself now, aren't I? And to my left, your right, I have Brian Haley, P.E., our resident engineer and all-around Civil 3D knowledgeable guy. So we'll start with a few slides that talk about, first, the housekeeping. If you want to minimize the control panel so that you can see the whole screen, use the now orange arrow instead of the double arrows. Hopefully you can hear us. Maybe you could raise your hand and let us know that you can hear us. If not, maybe your buttons are changed from mic and speakers to phone or vice versa. Raise your hand if you like. It doesn't really do a whole lot. And the most important thing is to, if you have questions, please type them in and we will try to get them answered as close to in context as we can. So with that, we've got a couple more announcements about some promotions. Autodesk Vault Professional, Autodesk is running a promotion between now and the end of January on this product. It's a great tool for managing a lot of files and drawings and documents and paperwork and everything that may go with various projects. And there's some specials up to 30% off the list price on that. So if you're interested in Vault, certainly give us a call in that regard. We'll be happy to help you. There is, on the other end of the spectrum, we have some specials on AutoCAD LT, Revit LT, Inventor LT, instant rebates of $200 and some discounts on upgrades as well. Again, that goes through the end of January. The next one is our, or the extension of the rebate promotion. Autodesk is giving up to $1,000 off on select Autodesk products. Now, the $1,000 off is on the Ultimate Design Suites, Infrastructure Design Suite, and so forth. There's, I don't remember the exact tiers, but there's a little bit lesser level for the Premium Design Suite, and then there's $400 off or $400 rebate on individual products like AutoCAD or Civil 3D or Revit. So keep those in mind. Those will be running through the end of the year or the end of the January. What's always important to so many people, I don't know if you pay the bills at your particular office, but if you do, there is a tax break that good old Uncle Sam gives everyone that allows everyone, those who buy capital goods, software, computers, things like that, to fully depreciate them in the one tax year rather than 3 to 5. And that's called the 179 deduction. And so it's a good time to buy software by the end of the year to take advantage of that if you have extra money laying around. We also do a lot of training for students in architecture, engineering, land planning, GIS, construction management, and we have some great programs for the students to get involved in and help them learn the tools. What we so often find is that the students are very busy learning the nuts and bolts of their profession, the engineering or architecture, whatever it may be, and they don't have time always to learn the software during their regular coursework. So we offer some great discounts and so forth for students. And I think this is the last one, yeah. But anyway, here's our upcoming classes. Mr. Haley and our entire technical team will be heading off to Las Vegas for their yearly pilgrimage to the Autodesk University, and coming back with all sorts of wonderful new tips and tricks and ready to start a whole new session of classes. So on on December 9th through the 11th, we have a CAD to GIS class taught by Warren Geisler. Excellent class. Civil 3D Fundamentals classes coming up both December 16th through the 19th and January 13th through the 16th. Survey Field to Finish class coming up January 13th through the 15th. Civil 3D Styles class coming up January 27th. Grading in Civil 3D January 28th. Civil 3D Pipe Networks January 29th. And Civil 3D Hydrology and Hydraulics January 30th. And I'm going to put in a plug here as well. Mr. Haley will be doing a special Civil 3D Tips and Tricks class in Wyoming and I don't have the exact dates. It's the first week of February, I believe, at the Wyoming Engineering Conference in Laramie this year. And that's always a good program. So look for that if you're in Wyoming or you're close to Laramie and you want to sit in on that as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and the heart and soul of today's presentation.
All right, thank you, Stan. So, well, again, I'd like to extend my welcome to everybody here as well, to both of you. Thank you for attending and joining us. The agenda. So what are we going to do today? Today we are going to be talking first about data references, and, well that's pretty much it. The agenda is pretty simple today. Before I get too far into this, I want to get an idea of you guys. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions here real quick. So let's see. First off, how many people are sitting there watching this presentation with you? I just kind of want to get an idea of how many people we have. So are you there all by yourself? I imagine most people are probably, sitting in your office watching this by yourself. Maybe a few people have some friends or people that are willing to be around you and those types of things. So, all right, let me go ahead and close this here real quick, and let's see the results. Yeah, kind of what I expected. Yeah, I oftentimes will watch webinars by myself in my office as well. So it's good to see that there are some people that have, other people that they can share this with and bounce ideas
Small group making a party of it.
Yeah. Next thing, what version of Civil 3D are you using? Are you up to date on Civil 3D 2014? At this point, I would expect most people to be on 2014. A few people maybe on the earlier versions. Civil 2014 has been out for a while now. People are starting to feel confident with it. So go ahead and close down voting here and go ahead and share that. So yeah, kind of what I expected. Right around what I was expecting to see. A lot of people using 14 now, a few people still on 13. It's good to see that everybody here is using Civil 3D, so that's good to see as well. Let's see, the suites. Are you guys using the suites? Do you have the standard suite? Now, I'd assume nobody in here has the standard suite because it does not have Civil 3D as a part of it. So I'd expect most people to either say, yes, we have the Premium Suite, the Ultimate Suite, or just Civil 3D.
It's funny to watch the polls jump around on the screen here when people are voting.
And let's see. So about half the people have Civil 3D, the other half have the Premium version, and then a few people have the Ultimate version. Excellent. As Stan had mentioned before, Autodesk University is right around the corner. Is anybody here getting a chance to go to Autodesk University? If you haven't ever been to AU, it is a fantastic thing to go to. It's amazing what you can learn at AU. And not to mention they have a lot of beer there.
Well, it looks like you get to come back and tell everyone about it.
It definitely does. So I can't recommend AU enough. It's amazing the things you can learn there. It's a fantastic place to learn. It's typically the week after Thanksgiving, so it's just right around the corner for this year. But you know, something to think about for maybe next year.
And it's when Las Vegas is cheap.
And then finally, probably the most important question I have for tonight: what is your opinion on Schrodinger's cat?
And they all
nobody's answered.
They all looked and stared.
I should have put an answer in here. What's Schrodinger? Who's Schrodinger, and what's his cat got to do with Civil 3D? It has nothing to do with Civil 3D. I just like to throw in a kind of a fun poll after the fact. All right, so we got both, we got neither, we got nobody thinks Schrodinger's cat is dead. Oh, that's good to see.
Schrodinger's turkey is on the block, though.
that is true. All right, so today, again, we're going to be talking about data references. So let's start off talking a little bit about what is a data reference. Well, a data reference is very similar to an XREF. I am referencing something from one file into another file. In an XREF, I'm actually referencing the line work. When I'm doing a data reference, I'm referencing data. So I have one drawing that has, in this example, a surface. And in this drawing, I have a surface, and the surface has all of the data being used to create the surface. Now, I want to use this surface in another drawing. I can't simply XREF it in. If I XREF it in, really the only thing I can do with it is look at it and label it. I need to be able to use it. I need to be able to use it for volume calculations, for cutting cross sections, for doing profiles, for being a target in a corridor, for whatever. If I simply XREF it, I can't do any of that. So when I create a data reference, in essence what I'm doing is in the other drawing, I am going to take the data from this object, and in the new drawing I'm going to create a new object and reference all of the data from the other object into this new object. Now, the cool thing about this is the thing you have to understand, in the new drawing, this is an object. You can do anything with this object that you can with any other object. So again, I'm going to use a surface as an example. So the surface that was created from a data reference, I can paste it into another surface. I can run different analyses on it. I can assign different styles to it. I can use it in volume calculations. I can run cut profiles and use it as targets for gradings and corridors and everything that I can with any other surface. The only thing I can't do is edit it. If I need to edit the surface, I need to go back to the source drawing and edit the data in the source drawing. So if I go back to the source drawing and I make a change to that original surface, the next time I open up the new drawing with the data reference in it, it changes as well. Ooh, cool PowerPoint animations. Brian, you're a PowerPoint genius. Yes, I know that's what you are thinking, and I appreciate the compliments there. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. Now, a lot of people kind of get a little bit confused between a data shortcut and a data reference. So what's the difference? So we have shortcuts and we have references. So what is a data shortcut? Well, a data shortcut is actually a file that sits on your network somewhere. The data shortcut is used to create the reference. And the reference is basically that link from the data from one object into an object in a different drawing. So that's the difference. The shortcut is being used to create the reference. A great analogy I like to use is a shortcut on your desktop. Civil 3D. This icon that you have on your desktop, is this Civil 3D? No, it's not. What is it? Well, it's a shortcut. When I double click on this icon, it says, hey, go launch that program. That program you can think of as the reference. So I use the shortcut to launch the program. I use the data shortcut to create the reference. Once the program is up and running, what happens if I come in and I erase the shortcut off my desktop? What happens to the program? Well, nothing. It runs just fine. Same thing with a data shortcut. If I go in and I delete a data shortcut after I've created a reference, the reference persists. The shortcut is used to create the reference. So let's take a quick look at the file structure on creating shortcuts and references and all of this fun stuff. So the ultimate goal of this whole thing is to create the data reference. I want to create that surface in the other drawing so I can use it. Now, prior to creating the data reference, there's some things that we have to do. We first need to create the data shortcut. Again, the data shortcut is used to create the data reference. So prior to creating the data reference, I need to create the data shortcut. Now, before I can create the data shortcuts, I need to tell Civil 3D where on my network I want to store these little shortcut files. Because again, it is an object on my drawing somewhere. And so I need to set or create the data shortcut project folder. All right?
And we have a good question here from Lloyd. Lloyd asks, if you remove/delete the source drawing, does the reference remain?
That's a great question. So again, this is a reference, very similar to an XREF. So if I'm in a drawing and I'm XREFing in another drawing, what happens if I erase that drawing? Well, it's going to say, hey, I can't find the reference drawing anymore. So it gives me a little warning saying, hey, there's unreferenced, the references are broken. You'll get the same sort of thing in Civil 3D as well, and I'll show you that as we get into it. So a very good question, Mike. Thank you. Now, like I said before, prior to creating the data shortcut, I need to set and create the data shortcut project folder. This is where my shortcuts are going to be stored on my network somewhere. It creates a little shortcut folder underneath the project folder, and that's where all my shortcuts, and you'll see this here in just a bit. And then prior to creating the data shortcut project folder, I need to create, and I have no idea why we need to do this, but we do. We need to set or create the working folder. So the working folder contains the project folders. The project folder contains the shortcut, and the shortcut is used to create the reference. All right, let's go ahead and check this out in Civil 3D and see how this works. So I'm going to come over here to Civil 3D. I'm just going to go open. I'm just going to grab one of the tutorial drawings here. Let's see. Let's go to, hey, that looks like a good drawing. So on this drawing, I have a surface and I have an alignment. Now, what can we data reference? Well, everything you can data reference is listed over here underneath your data shortcuts. Surfaces, alignments, pipe networks, pressure networks, view frame groups, and the one that we don't see here is profiles. So a profile would actually be listed underneath the parent alignment.
So,
no, I'll get to that in just a bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I want to, again, if I switch back over here to my PowerPoint, oops, not that PowerPoint, that PowerPoint. Let me go back here. So the first thing I need to do is set the working folder. So in Civil 3D, under my data shortcuts, I got two different methods of doing this. I can either use the right-click menus over here, or if I go to the Manage tab, I've got most of those options up here as well. So I can either set the working folder up here on the ribbon, or I can right-click on Data Shortcuts and set the working folder. So the working folder is where are your data shortcut project folders located. You can either put them all in one working folder, or you can have them in multiple different working folders. All right, so I'm going to set my working folder, and as you can see, I have it set to my Civil 3D Projects folder. Now, by default, it's going to go to C, Civil 3D Projects. You don't want that as your standard for your office. Why? Because that's local to your hard drive. This is something you need to share with the rest of the project, and so I want to be able to share that with, put it up on my network somewhere. So I set the working folder. Once I have the working folder set, I need to go set the project folder. Now, if your working folder already has project folders in it, you can simply right-click here and set the data shortcut project folder. So as you can see, in this particular project folder, I have a lot of different shortcut projects. All right? This is kind of where I go to do all my testing and stuff. You see I got one that says delete me, and I got one that's called junk, and I've just kind of done some things. I've done work for different companies and things like that. So I would come in here and I would set the project folder. Now in this case, I don't have a project folder that I want to use. So instead, I'm going to right-click in here and I'm going to create a new data shortcut project folder. This is going to create a folder underneath the working folder. And I'm just going to call this one _webinar. I'm going to use the underscore just to bring it to the top of the list alphabetically for me. And now I'm referencing that particular project folder. So again, I set the data shortcut project folder. Now that I have the data shortcut project folder, I'm going to create the data shortcut. So back in Civil 3D, I have my. Let me go ahead and do a save as here. I'm going to put this basically in that same location. So D Civil 3D projects webinar, and I'll just save it here, and I'll call it existing conditions. All right, so you can see again, I've got a nice surface here. I got some an alignment. I got some line work in here as well. A line work does not get data referenced. The only thing that gets data referenced are again those 6 things over here. So I now have created the shortcut project folder. All right, what's next? So what's next? Well, I need to create the data shortcut itself. So I'm going to right-click on Data Shortcuts, and I'm going to choose Create Data Shortcuts. And now as soon as I hit this button, I'm going to get really, really mad. Why? Because it says, hey, you have to save this drawing. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I have to save the drawing. So the save has to come immediately before creating the data shortcut. So I'll come up here and I'll save the drawing, and as it saves, somebody comes over here and says, hey, Brian, what's that thing? What? That thing right there? Oh, I don't know. I just zoomed in. Let me go ahead and create my data shortcuts now. I'll create my data shortcuts, and it says, hey, your drawing has to be saved. Well, I just saved. No, you zoomed. So it has to be immediately following a save. You can't do anything in the drawing after saving and before creating the data shortcut. So once again, I'll go ahead and save this drawing. Now this is important because I know some companies that have list routines that will run and it'll do something immediately after a save. Well, if you've done that, then you'll never be able to create a data shortcut. So I'm going to go ahead and create my data shortcuts now, and because I haven't done anything, it goes ahead and lets me create my data shortcuts. So I'm going to create a shortcut to my existing ground as well as my alignment. I'll select OK. And now, under my data shortcuts, you can see I have an existing ground data shortcut. Under my alignments, I have an alignment 1 data shortcut. Now again, this is a shortcut. This is not the data itself. Let's go ahead and switch over to Internet Explorer or Windows Explorer here and see what's going on. So here under my working folder, I have my data shortcut project folder, webinar. And in here you can see I have a shortcuts menu. This is where my project shortcuts are going to be found. So under my shortcuts, I have a different folder for each type of shortcut I can create. So I created a surface. I'll go into surfaces. And here is the data shortcut. And as you can see, it's microscopic in size. This is not the data. All this data shortcut is a pointer to where to find the data. In fact, if I double-click on this XML file, it's going to open it up in Internet Explorer, and you can see that's all the data, that's all there is in this XML file. It's a pointer. It says, hey, go find that file and that object and bring it in. That's really all there is to it. And that's my shortcut. All right, so I've got the shortcut created. Let's go. Let's see what's next on the list here. All right, so I've got the shortcut created. Well, now let's go ahead and create the reference. So I'm going to go create a brand new blank drawing here. And I want to reference in that alignment and that surface into this drawing. All right, so I go find my shortcut, and I use the shortcut to create the reference. Right-click on the shortcut, and I create the reference. And if you notice, it's grayed out. I don't know how well you guys can see that through the web interface, but it's definitely grayed out. It won't let me select it. All right, I discovered this doing a demo in front of about 50 people after they made a change to this. I was like, oh, look how easy it is to, oh, no, it's grayed out. Well, why is it grayed out? Well, this drawing has never been saved. It's not like the other, when you're creating the shortcut, it doesn't have to be immediately saved. It just needs to exist on a hard drive somewhere. Right now, the only place it exists is in RAM. So I'm going to go save the drawing, and I'll call this one Proposed Conditions. All right, I'll draw in a line, I'll pan around, I'll zoom, I'll erase the line. I've done stuff after the save. I can still create the data shortcut, or the data reference. So I'll go ahead and create the reference to this particular object. Now, as I said before, what this is doing, this is creating a surface in this drawing. It is a surface in this drawing. I can't stress that enough. It's a surface in this drawing. I can do anything with this surface in this drawing that I can with any other surface. The only thing I can't do is edit the data. I can come up here and I can put it on whatever layer I want. I can name the surface whatever I want. By default, it's going to use the name of the surface that it's getting the data from, but you don't have to. I can come in and I can change the description. I can change the style. I can assign a different render material. This is a surface in this drawing. And there's my surface. All right, if I want to, I can draw a polyline through here, create a quick profile to see what my surface is doing along that. It is an object in my drawing. Shows up under my prospector as a surface. And anytime you see this little symbol right there, that indicates that this object was created from a data reference. So if I expand this out, you'll notice I can apply masks to this. I can see the watersheds for it, but I don't get the definition piece. Why? Well, that would be changing the data. I can't do that in this file. If I want to change the data, I have to go back to the source drawing. And we'll see that here in just a little bit. Now, we had a question come in that said, can you change the insertion point when you're creating the data reference? No, you cannot. Your data is always going to come in at the same location in your drawing as it was in the source drawing. Even if your two drawings are in different coordinate systems. This does not do coordinate translation or transformation from one drawing to another drawing. It will come in at the same X and Y value in the new drawing as it was in the original drawing. All right.
And we do have another question. Do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
We're asked, how about adding boundaries to the reference surface? I believe that changes the data. So can this be done?
So that's a really good question. Can I add a boundary to this surface? No, I can't. I can't add a boundary to it because, as you mentioned, it actually changes the data of the surface. However, I can add a mask. So let me draw a polyline in here. This is the only, let me draw a polyline in here. This is the only part of the surface that I want to see, this little shape here. So I can add a mask to it. So I'll right-click on Masks, and I'll create a mask. All right, I'll select the object that I want to use as my mask. All right, mask type, outside, inside. So you can either mask the outside, you can mask the inside. Is it a render-only mask? I just want to change the way it renders. Mid-ordinate distance, assign all this different thing, hit OK, and it masks it out for me. Now, as you can see, it kind of went out beyond it, and I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't think it would. Let's see if I got an option in here. It's been a while since I've dealt with masks.
Does it act as kind of a crossing, or?
Yeah, so what it does is it only does the triangles that are completely within it. So if I really needed to get this boundary, what I would do is I would go into the source file and basically create a break line along this rectangle or whatever shape it is, and I would add that to the surface as a non-destructive break line. Basically, that just adds triangle edges without actually changing the surface, and then it should work just fine.
And so we're asked, can multiple masks be added to the surface, or are we limited to just one?
I believe we can add multiple masks. Let's try it. Well, it looks like you can only add the one. Another option is to create crop surfaces. So if I need to see this area and this area and this area and this area, I can create several different crop surfaces and put them all into the same file. So.
And then we have a question, why do I see pretty colors instead of the boring gray? What control are you using?
You talking about my pretty little rainbow colors here?
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. I just use the elevation style, analysis style. So if I go change the style of it, you can see I just chose the elevation banding surface style. I can change it back to the 1 in 5 background if I wanted to. Again, this is an object in this drawing. I can assign any style to it that I want. All right, you want to get a little psychedelic? All right. Ooh. Psychedelic. Where's my lava lamp? All right. So that's all that I'm seeing that for.
If you stare at it long enough, you can see the space shuttle.
All right, so let me go ahead and set that back.
If you remember those old posters.
Elevation banding. And the reason I chose the style is just so you can see that I can stylize it however I want. But again, I cannot change the data. If I want to change the data, I need to go back to the source drawing. So this drawing here. And oh, by the way, I closed that drawing. So I don't have that drawing open. As you can see, the only drawing I have open is this drawing. So I want to go back and I want to edit the surface. But what drawing did that surface come from? I don't remember. I just want to edit the surface. So I grab the surface and I go open the source. Very similar to the way NXREF works. So I choose open source and it takes me, opens up that drawing. Now for whatever reason, it always switches me back to the other drawing, but it did indeed open that other drawing for me.
And we have a question Sarah asked, can we bring the surface into the drawing more than once so we can apply different styles and masks?
I believe you can. So what I would do in that case, if I wanted to see the different parts of the surface differently, I would probably use wipeouts to hide the different parts of the surface, and so I can see the different parts, and then I could assign different styles to it. I should be able to bring it in more than once. Let me try. I'm not positive on that. I've never actually tried. You'd have to, it doesn't look like you can. Thought maybe you could, but it doesn't look like you can. Sorry. All right, so I want to make a change here. I'm not sure. Let me check out the data here. Let me change my style real quick just so I can see what it looks like. Let's see. Let's get some triangles going on here. Border and triangles and points. Oh, my.
And when you get to a place where you can explain it, tell us what the promote option is.
I will. So basically what I did is I just drew a 3D polyline in here. And I snapped to some existing triangles. And then I'm going to move it up in the air, say 15 feet. Why? Because it's very obviously wrong. All right, so I'm going to use the move. I'm going to do a displacement, and I'm going to take it up 15 feet. and then I'm going to add this to my surface as a break line. So I've made a change to the surface. If I change the style back, so we can see our triangles, I definitely have a change here. Now if I switch back over to the original drawing, you see the change hasn't been made here. Let me go ahead and change my style so we can see it a little bit better. All right, so the change hasn't been applied to this surface yet. And the reason is because this drawing hasn't been saved yet, just like with an XREF. If you make a change to an XREF, well, you have to save the drawing before you see those changes anywhere else. Same thing here. So let me go ahead and save this drawing. Now, if somebody had a drawing open where this surface was data referenced into their drawing, what they will see is this little bubble pop up down here, very similar to the way an XREF works. So it says, hey, your data shortcut definitions may have changed. Do you want to synchronize the drawing? Yes, I want to synchronize the drawing. So I click on synchronize, and you see the surface change. All right, let me do something here real quick. Let me draw a quick profile through here. I'm going to go make that change, another change again. So I'll switch back over here. I'll grab that 3D polyline, and again, I'll move it up in the air 15 feet. Rebuild my surface. Surface changed. Save the drawing. And when I switch over here, I want you to watch the profile as I synchronize. As soon as I synchronize, you can see the profile update as well. So this is a surface. Anything the surface is being used for, it will update as well. Now, if I had this drawing closed and I make a change to the data, as soon as I open this drawing, it will immediately synchronize the data. So it'll synchronize everything, and I don't have to worry about it. Again, just the same way an XREF works. So when you're using data references, you never have to worry about the drawing being out of date with the source. So they're always going to be the same as long as you use your data references, which is the beauty of data references. All right, so that's kind of the way the data references work. Let me switch back over here to my PowerPoint. One of the things that people will run into a lot, especially if you get a drawing from somebody else, you'll see this when you open up a drawing. So what happens is, if, let's say, for example, you guys are having a tech support issue and you guys send me your drawings, and I open up the drawing and the drawing has a data reference in it. Well, if it can't find the source drawing, this is what will be displayed for me in the drawing. I'll get a little something along these lines. So if you see this, and you know, if it's just one file, a one-off type of a thing, you can go find the object that's missing the reference, and you can right-click on it and repair the broken reference. Now, if you've got a whole project, you know, let's say I've got a whole project that's referencing the existing ground surface, and for whatever reason somebody decides to move the drawing that the existing ground surface was in, well, you're going to be breaking everything for the entire project. Well, that's not fun at all. So here's kind of the process that happens when data shortcuts come into play. So I go open up the drawing that has the data referenced into it. It's going to say, hey, I've got a data reference in here. Let me go ahead and go out and look for the drawing that has the source. Ah, there it is. So let me go ahead and bring that data into the drawing and display it. This is the way it's intended to work. Unfortunately, sometimes it can't find that drawing. That drawing doesn't exist, or the object in the drawing doesn't exist. You're then going to get that little message pop up saying, hey, the broken reference, I can't find it. So what the program is going to do then is it's going to go take a look at the actual data shortcut itself. So if it can't find that other thing, it's going to go look to the data shortcut and say, okay, did this thing move? Did it get renamed? Is it someplace else? And the data shortcut is going to say, oh yeah, it's actually, it's over there now. And then as soon as it finds out, it says, oh, it's in this new location, it's then going to display the object again for us. So if you've made changes to the data and you want those references to update, all you have to do is edit the data shortcut. Actually, let me back up here real quick. So let me switch back over to here again. So let me open up my data shortcut. Come on. And as you can see, all this information is in here. Now, what you do not want to do, you do not want to just come in here using a text editor and edit this file. In fact, it even says so right there. Please do not edit this file. So don't do it. Instead, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use the data shortcut editor. The data shortcut editor gets installed with Civil 3D. It's in the same place on the start menu Civil 3D is at. And this allows you to edit your data shortcuts. This is what you want to use. After you've edited the data shortcuts using that, you'll want to validate the data shortcuts. And when you validate the shortcuts, everything magically gets fixed. So let me go ahead and demonstrate that here. So let me go ahead and close this drawing. Yes, I want to save it. So this is my proposed conditions. And I'm also going to close and save my existing conditions. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go edit my existing conditions file name. It's no longer going to be existing conditions. It's going to be let's do it this way. Let's existing dash conditions. I made a change to the file name. So now when I open up the proposed conditions, I get that pretty little warning saying, hey, I can't find the existing conditions drawing. So we now have a broken reference. What do I do? Well, there's a couple of things. Again, if it's just a one or two type of a thing, you can go find the surface or the object, the alignment, the whatever it is that's broken, right-click on it, and repair the broken reference. It's then going to ask you to browse to the drawing that has the data in it. All right, so I would choose existing conditions, select open, and it's fixed. Now, if I had other objects in this drawing that were broken referenced as well, it would then ask, do you want to continue to repair the broken references? I just say yes, and I go pick them each individually. But that's not what I want to do in this case. Oops. All right, so again, I closed out of it without saving, and I was afraid that was going to happen, so let me do this again. Let me make this existing underscore conditions. So again, I broke the reference intentionally here. All right, it's broken. So let me go ahead and close out of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the data shortcut editor. So if I go to my start menu, all programs, Autodesk, AutoCAD Civil 3D 2014, or whatever version you're using, I have a data shortcuts editor. So I choose data shortcuts editor. All right, it opens up this little dialog box, a little application. I simply go browse for my project. So I'll go to my computer, my D drive. No, sorry, not my D drive. I clicked on the wrong one. D drive, Civil 3D projects, webinar. So this is the data shortcut project folder. Don't go to shortcuts, go to the folder that the shortcuts is in. And it's going to open up all of my shortcuts for me. And as you can see, the shortcuts are still looking to the old drawings. I don't want these to look to the old drawings. I want these to look to the new drawing. So I can simply come in here and make that change. Existing underscore conditions. Now, if I had several hundred shortcuts that were all referencing this drawing, I can go up here to my edit and do a find and replace. So I want to replace existing conditions with existing underscore conditions. And I'll replace them all. So you can see now they're all the same. And then you have to save the data shortcuts. So now, when I go open up my proposed conditions, what happens? I still have a broken reference. But Brian, oh yep, we forgot something. After you edit the data shortcuts, you have to go into Civil 3D and you have to validate the shortcuts. So under my data shortcuts, I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to validate the data shortcuts. All right? Doesn't matter what drawing you're in when you do it, you just need to validate them. So now when I open up the proposed conditions again, my shortcut is fixed. And any drawing that was referencing that old drawing is now going to be referencing the new drawing. Now, if you're sending this file off to somebody and you don't want to have to worry about data references and data shortcuts and all of that fun stuff, what you can do is you can promote the drawing, the data. So if I grab this surface, you'll notice an option up here. It says Promote Data Reference. So I can do this one at a time. And if I promote the data reference, it's like binding an XREF. It's actually taking the data and copying it into this drawing and removing the link between the two. So if I promote the data reference, this is now a surface unto itself. If I expand out surfaces, I can go into the definition. I can do anything I want to it. I can come in here, I can draw a rectangle, and then I can add a boundary to that rectangle, to the surface. It is now a surface in this drawing all by itself. Now you have to be careful with this. Don't promote unless you really, really want to promote. And there is a very, very dangerous button up here under the Manage tab. This one will promote all of your data references. Be careful with that one. That basically just destroys any links between this drawing and any other drawing as far as Civil 3D is concerned. So be careful.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so that's the way data shortcuts work and data references work. Now, I've got one more thing I want to talk about here, and if anybody has any questions on anything I've talked about so far, please feel free to write them in. But I do have something else that I want to talk about before we call it a day. File management. So how do you want to manage these systems? Well, the approach I like to take is a three-tiered approach. You want to have three different levels, so to speak, of files. The first level are going to be your XREF files. These drawings are going to be XREF'd into another drawing. So for example, the surveyor's line work. I'm going to XREF that into any drawing where I need to see the existing things that are out there. These files will be referenced back and forth between each other. So for example, the surveyor's existing line work will be XREF'd into the planner's proposed line work drawing, so that the planner can see what is out there as they're laying out the new design for the project. The next level is going to be your model files. These are the drawings that are going to have things within them data referenced into other drawings. All right? So this would be where you're going in and doing your roadway design, you're doing all of your grading, you're doing your utility modeling, those types of things. You're going to take those XREF, these model files, you're going to data reference them back and forth between each other, and you're also going to take the XREF files and you're going to XREF them into the model files for reference purposes. All right? So for example, if I'm doing my utility work, well, I want to see I need to be able to use the centerline alignments of my streets for profiling purposes. So I'll data reference in the alignments and the profiles into another model drawing. I also need to see the existing utility, so I'll XREF in that line work. The next level are your production files. These are the drawings that you're going to be plotting. These are the ones that actually have the sheets in them. All right? Into this drawing, you're going to data reference things from the models. You're going to data reference in the surfaces. You're going to data reference in the alignments, the profiles, the utilities, those types of things. You're going to XREF in things from the XREF drawings. I need to see the existing conditions. I want to see the proposed conditions. One thing you do not do, you do not reference between production drawings. There is no reason to. You want to have this production drawing be unto of itself. And what I highly recommend is the only thing you should ever put into a drawing is what is needed to create the drawing. If you don't need it to create that drawing, don't put it in the drawing. It'll make life so much easier. And the reason I recommend that is because, well, Civil 3D is a resource hog. Every time you regen the drawing, all the labels have to go through and figure out, hey, do I need to update or not? And if you have a lot of labels, even XREF labels, that can take a very long time to do. So I highly recommend when you're working in a drawing, think about it. What do I need in this drawing in order to create this drawing? Well, only bring that stuff in. So, do we have any more questions, Stan?
Well, we do have a couple questions. Lloyd asks, can you trim the surface and promote the result?
So Lloyd is asking, can you trim the surface and promote the result? No, I would actually do it the other way. I would promote the surface and then trim the result. And as I had mentioned before, if you want to do that sort of thing, there's a really cool thing called a cropped surface. Now, this really doesn't have anything to do with data references, but let me show it to you anyways. So I want to create a new surface from a piece of this surface. So I'm going to grab the surface, and I'm going to create, under Surface Tools, a cropped surface. Apparently, I have to save the drawing immediately before doing this one as well. So I'll go ahead and do that again. I'll create my cropped surface. I thought I just saved it. Apparently, I didn't. Save. Create cropped surface, and then you go through here. So which surface do you want to crop? What area do you want to crop? All right, so I hit the ellipsis there, and let's pick it. So I'm just going to do I don't want to do a rectangle. I'll do a polygon. I'm interested in this area right here, perhaps. That's the area I want to create a new surface for. I don't want to put it in an existing drawing. I want to create a new drawing. It's always going to have to go into a different drawing. So what do you want to do with it? So I'm going to create a new drawing. What template do I want to use? So just work your way through the dialog box. I'm going to use the standard template here. So just created that new drawing, drawing 8. You can see that up here. All right. I can name the surface. I can give it a description. I can change the style. All right, so I'll use that elevation banding again just because I think it's cool. What layer do I want to put it on, etc., etc. Select OK. And now in drawing 8 over here, I have just that piece of the surface. All right, let me go ahead and change the style back to something that displays contours. And the cool thing about this is what happens if this surface changes. All right, so let me go rebuild the surface. This might have done something really weird, but I wanted a decent change. If I come back over here and I rebuild this surface, you'll see it doesn't change. It's not a link to the original surface, but it can be. If I go into the surface properties, under the definition, you'll see what happened is it created the cropped surface and then it created a snapshot. Simply uncheck the snapshot. And now when I rebuild it, oh, I actually have to save that other drawing. And now when I rebuild this, it updates as well. So a crop surface is kind of an alternative to using data references.
Ryan, we've got a couple other questions here. And first off, Nabil, and I hope I have that pronounced right, Nabil is actually viewing today's presentation from the Kurdistan region of Iraq.
Oh,
so that's
welcome.
pretty cool that we've got people from the other side of the world watching us here today. See a couple other names that make me think we might have some other folks as well. Nabil is asking if we might be able to do something, specifically asked potable water pipe distribution design or perhaps pressure networks. And do we have anything on pressure networks?
I believe we do. Let me go check our
I
website.
I thought I remember doing a pressure pipe network
Yeah, so if you go to CAD-1.com, and over here on the left, we got a link to webinars. And then we have webinar archives. So you're the infrastructure guy, so if we have one, it should be here somewhere. Mining, exporting, basic building, intersections, infrastructure. I'm sure we've done one.
And it might be on our YouTube channel, and I'm not sure that's a complete list because we just built that archive page not too long ago, so it may not have everything.
So if I go to do a search in YouTube for CAD-1, let's see, let's go ahead and pause that. And let's see if there's an option to, we should be able to see videos. So as you can see, we've done a lot of videos.
And this one will be recorded as well.
Yes, and this one will be up there. Yep, there we go. CAD-1 presents Pressure Pipe Networks in Civil 3D.
So hopefully that'll help you, and if you need more information, you can certainly send us an email, Nabil. Now, we do have a couple questions from Sarah first. Is there a way to delete a project folder?
Is there a way to delete a project folder? That's a very good question. So basically, your project folder is right here. That's your project folder. It's Windows Explorer. Just go to Windows Explorer and delete it, or however you like to delete folders. So that will delete the project folder. Now, you have to remember, if you've put anything else in this project folder, it will get rid of all of that as well. If you just want to get rid of the shortcuts, you can just get rid of the shortcuts folder in the project folder. So that's how you can do that.
And then we have a question, and it says number 4, 4 spot elevations, I guess, have lost their reference surface, but they are visible, just displaying X's. Is there a way to reassign the surface to the spot elevations?
You get to this one a lot. So I have, let me go put some spot elevations in here real quick. All right, so I got this beautiful spot elevation. Let me go ahead and close and save this drawing. I'm going to do basically the same thing. I'm going to rename my existing conditions to existing condition. And then I'll reopen my proposed condition. And I'm missing the, well, that didn't seem to work, did it? Did I label the wrong drawing?
You probably
labeled the wrong drawing, didn't I?
You're just thinking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I labeled the wrong drawing. Let me add some labels in here. I was like, why didn't those show up? So I'll do it down here. Close, save this drawing, rename the existing condition. I'm running out of letters here. And I get question marks. I think you meant question marks and not X's, but whatever. All right, so what happened? Well, the surface, there is no data for the surface here. And if for whatever reason I've erased that surface out of the original drawing, what do? How do I get this back? Well, unfortunately, there's no way for me to take, this spot elevation and tell it to use a different surface. You can see the surface is grayed out here. I can't tell it to use a new surface. It's always going to be labeling this surface. So what do? Well, I will promote the surface. But Brian, it doesn't have any data in it. That's fine. I'll promote the surface. And apparently I can't do it with a broken reference. Let's try to promote all data references.
Let's see how you get out of this one, Haley.
No, it's not letting me do it. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You can always repair the broken reference and tell it to go reference a different surface. Create a reference to an object in another file. So I'm going to go, let's go find my tutorial files here. Autodesk, AutoCAD, Civil 3D 20. Don't you just love the way they keep making this name longer?
Uh-huh.
It used to be Civil 3D, and then it's AutoCAD Civil 3D. Now it's Autodesk AutoCAD Civil 3D.
Uh-huh.
I think the next version is going to be Autodesk AutoCAD 3 Dimensions. All right, I go to the Help, Civil Tutorials, Drawings, and it's this drawing, something like that. One of these drawings has surface in it. All right, so it fixed it, so I can just tell it to go reference a different surface. That would be my approach to it.
And we have one last question, and then we'll sign off here. Can we add a line to a surface with the same X and Y coordinate, but in a different height?
In the original surface, absolutely. I just add that as a break line to the original surface. In the data reference surface, no, because I can't edit the data to it.
Yeah, it's data again.
Yeah, so it all comes down to that data.
Well, folks, it's nice to see all of you today. And Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to add real quick?
No, just our standard closing slide. You can see us on Facebook, Twitter. My blog is up here as well.
And that's a very good blog, by the way. And we appreciate your time today.
Yes,
and
definitely.
For those of you who are in the States here and celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And to the rest of you that have joined us from other locations, well, happy Thanksgiving as well. We should all be thankful for the nice things we have in life. Right. So with that, we'll close off and see you next time.